Austin here. I'm just outside of the city of Rome in Italy at the Catacombs, currently in the cathedral that is built above the catacombs, and right behind me is the remains of San Sebastian, considered the third most important martyr. You can see like a pretty fantastic statue with like the arrows in him. Didn't let you take any sort of pictures whenever you're inside the catacombs. They said beforehand that you can just find the pictures online, but the the church that we're standing in right now, the roof is carved in wood, and that person right there is San Sebastian, and it was restored in the Baroque period, but it used to be like three main chambers before the Middle Ages, and was like teetering around the time of the persecutions in 300s to 400s, because the persecutions of Christianity stopped in 313 AD. The catacombs themselves, they start a little bit off from the church, and at least the tour does. It kind of technically goes like underground, crazy maze forever under there. It's phenomenal. And then that area, the catacombs specifically, is where many Christians were buried, and oftentimes they said that they were buried they didn't need to hide persecution. It was after 313 AD that they were typically buried in that area. But there was underground in the catacombs, we got to a certain really large room, and it had been restored only a few hundred years ago, but some of it was like still very similar to the remains, right? Did they say that one chamber was restored? Mm. Yeah, that was for San Sebastian.
I think in the 17th century.
Yeah, in the 17th century. But it's interesting because like his original tomb is under there, and that's where his remains used to be. And I guess after he was killed, the tour guide said that he knew he was about to die from persecution, and so he took off his armor and just allowed like the arrows to overtake him. And there was somebody else, I forget their name, that said that they had a dream where his body was, because it was just like out somewhere where it was that he died, and he declared to them in the dream that he wanted to be buried here in the catacombs area. And so like that section down there used to be like a place of worship often. And because this is just outside of the city limits, and it's kind of on the way towards the southern section of Italy as well as the port, it was often like a place of rest for people for a few hundred years before the Middle Ages, probably after the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period, and later, but because it was, an hour and 2 hours outside of the city from like walking, I think. And then what was really interesting that stuck out to me was another section, is that this whole church is built over what was originally a quarry. And before the catacombs were built, the Romans had like this, after they dug out the quarry, there was three like rich clans that had sort of a tomb situation that was for all of their friends and relatives and whoever wanted to be buried there. And that was all only uncovered 100 years ago in 1922. And it was like beautiful, like stucco artwork, all like designed into the walls, and was phenomenal. That was like the most mind-blowing thing to me, that was 2nd century, 3rd century, something like that. Just a few hundred years. Yeah, I think 3rd century. Yeah, amazing.